Hey boys and girls, we have the XTR Rmax. Shane is the owner. We decided to get together and have a little fun today. Show a little bit of the Rmax running around, show some differences, some similarities, what's good, what's bad, what's indifferent. Got a little snow this morning, so that'll make it a little more interesting. Should be a fun day. So they both got the carnivores on them. Mine's got 32s. They're obviously not factory, they're aftermarket 32s, but still carnivores. His XTR comes with a 30-inch carnivores factory, which is a pretty sweet setup actually. This is the XTR model. Something it doesn't come with is the radio and the electronic shock switch, which I don't see as a huge deal.
The switches for the shocks, very easy to switch. I don't know if you can see that on the phone camera here, but it's a dialer, so you just turn it, medium to stiffer.
Yep.
I have them turned all the way to lighter. I'm a bigger guy, so I like the smoother ride.
Yep, that's kind of how I got mine set up too. It's a little bit smoother. If you go fast, you can always change it. If you run into a situation, it's pretty quick and easy to change out. We were talking about the shoulder bolsters that some people love, some people hate. He doesn't have a lot of miles on his yet, so he's gonna.
A lot of guys on the forums are asking because they're asking about size for guys. I'm 6'7", 280-ish pounds after
roughly.
COVID. Yeah. Getting in and out isn't bad, as you guys can see. It just barely touches my back. Fully in, it's snug. I'm debating on taking them off. It's a safety factor, of course. That's why Yamaha does not have them release, which would be a nice feature. However, I can imagine they would get sued for that if something happened and they had them off.
Yeah.
But from what I'm reading, you can get new seat brackets if you don't like it for about $150 a seat. So it's a $300 decision to see if I want to cut them off or leave them on. I got to put some more miles on before I decide if that's something I want to do.
Right. It's one of those things, like you said, you hate to cut them off and then absolutely hate it and feel like you're flopping around on the seat.
The seat belts do lock you in pretty tight, so you don't have to really worry about feeling that, I don't think. I'm just worried about, like, if you're on an angle or anything like that, feeling whether you're going to slide off of the chair or anything like that.
Right.
One of the things while we're standing here, I noticed it's a little different. The beds, the Rmax has a little bit bigger bed, a few inches, both width and lengthwise. The General, I think, just looks pretty beefy. One thing that I wish the Rmax did have, and I see that a lot on the forums, are extra fenders, which I added from Easy Flares. They're rubberized fenders, and you cut them to size. You can use the scissors. I use the tin snips. But
Yeah, and they look pretty slick. They look,
it'll keep the mud hopefully from flying in. And having that back windshield's almost a necessity as well if you're going to drive through any mud.
and they look pretty factory actually. It's a good looking setup. I mean, the Rmax, we were talking before about the bed size and stuff. Both beds have 600-pound capacities. The General's towing capacity is 1,500. The Rmax is 2,000. So there's a little more towing capacity in the Rmax. And it's set up a little bit different. I mean, you can see how the suspension's set up, where the suspension's more straight up and down. So you're going to have a little more capacity versus this is, I think, geared just a little bit more to how the Razor's set up. Where this has arched A-arms. The Rmax has more of like the stamped A-arms. They do have these sweet tree sliders, which I really wish Polaris would come out with, because the stuff that they have is kind of junky. The aftermarket is good, but I wish the XP had those. He's added a few front and back window, some rock lights. You want to throw them rock lights on?
Sure.
And his face mask light.
I used the rock lights. I put them inside the grill itself. Very easy to take to get inside here and actually work on it. That's some of the other stuff I've seen people asking about.
Now you say that.
It catches on my mask.
Yeah.
So, as you can see, I put the lights here on the grill so it won't affect the radiator at all. But pretty clean setup. This is driving through a lot of mud over the last 50 or so miles, and there's absolutely very little mud or anything in here.
Just goes in these grommets here.
Yep.
Locks down
Access to the accessories are all in here, and they're on switches like this. So very easy, pop and play. I have heated seats in mine. I added that as a feature. I'd definitely recommend having that on a switch, plus having it run right to the battery so they heat up faster and they don't take as much drain on the battery and the amperage that you have. But works out pretty slick. I'm very, very pleased with it so far.
Oh, the battery's actually up here too.
Yep.
Well, should we play?
Yeah, definitely.
It's awfully greasy out here this morning. There's fresh snow on the ground. Take her from the other way. It's a fair amount smoother that direction. Where I notice like my turf mode really comes in handy. This doesn't do too bad though. It must turn pretty sharp. We'll have to put them side by side, do a little turning radius just to see what they do. I don't know what that actually is comparably.
I don't know either, but it's pretty good. So in its fly mode, I think it's in trail right now.
Yeah.
As simple as that, then you're back into crawl mode. It gives you full power yet.
Just smooth the throttle response, right?
A lot more responsive, yeah. For like crawling and just like that, you're back into trail mode. It's been a two-wheel drive, but put it in four-wheel drive, it actually gets a lot less squirrely.
We got dirt in the toe hooks. All-wheel drive, high range. One thing I'm not used to is not having a park. Parking brake is nice though. So I got a little mud on the inside.
A little?
Just a little.
Being new to the side-by-sides, my first impression is I definitely prefer the ride on the Rmax more than the Polaris.
Okay.
Just for my size.
Yep.
Tight. It's very tight for me in there. I'm not familiar with all the settings. Maybe that's another thing.
Yep.
But it seems like the Rmax is very easy to point, click, and go.
Yep.
I don't know what your impressions were
And that's
riding
what,
it.
mine would be exactly the opposite. That it
Yeah.
seems like the Polaris rides smoother,
Yep.
and it's just because we're not used to them. I'm guessing, you know.
Sure.
They're set up for me and they're set up for you, but
Yeah, I think the Polaris rides smoother.
yep.
But size-wise, I'm just feel like I'm cramped in there a little bit. Like the
Okay.
steering wheel's too close to me,
Okay.
and my knees hit the dash a couple times.
Okay.
So if I went aggressive, I think it would be a little bit harder to control for me
Yep.
because of my size again.
Right. Yeah, this was fun. So we got them a little muddy.
You went through that creek. What happened?
I went through the creek in two-wheel drive,
Yep.
and I went into crawl mode, got stuck, put it in four-wheel drive, and it wouldn't go forward. Put it in reverse, backed up, and then I was able to go up and over it.
Okay.
I mean, similar tires. They seem like they get similar traction to me.
Yep.
I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, about the same.
You know, that they both hook up really well. Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say I hate either one of the rides. You know, they both ride good, both drive good. They're really similar machines. You know, realistically, it's, are you a Yamaha or a Polaris fan? And you know, there's a couple things that may or may not change your mind. For me, the turf mode would be determining factors because I use it around the yard so much. And if you don't, it wouldn't be an issue. I just enjoy the turf mode because you can turn on a dime with it without tearing anything up. So.
All right, guys. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out to the viewers is basically the biggest difference in here would be your gas gauge or gas fill-up. Gas tank is behind the door, so it's nice because it keeps it clean and not dirty, so you don't get mud in there when you open it up. Versus the Polaris has the external fill-up. Problem is if you're in a trailer or if you are pulling up to a gas station and you want to actually fill up, you actually either have to open the door or take it completely out of the trailer if your trailer is an enclosed trailer like mine. That way it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. So I fill mine up before or after we're done with rides, before it goes in the trailer.
And that's one thing I never even, you know, I heard people talk about it where you shut the door, it's behind the door, it's hidden, it's good, which makes it look slick. But Shane was saying, you know, yeah, but now when I put it in the trailer, it's a pain in the ass because I have a skinny trailer and I can't get to the gas tank. So it's something I never even thought of.
Yeah, I've had people ask too about the trailer too on our forums. I got a 7-foot wide trailer and a 16-foot long. It's long enough, definitely, and I got the extra 12 inches of clearance in case I wanted to put tracks or do any suspension lifts or anything on this in the future. However, 7 feet is pretty tight inside the trailer, so for a guy my size, I have to really suck it in to slide behind and between the doors to get in and out. I would, if I had to do it again, I'd probably have gone the extra foot and got the 8-foot wide trailer versus the 7-foot wide trailer.
Yep.
The other thing that I pointed out, and I've seen it again on the forums, is underneath the driver's seat, there is a compartment under here. There's 4 screws that hold it in. There's actually 2 bolts and then 2 of those plastic rivets. It's all empty under here. Yamaha's theory behind that is that's where your subwoofer goes if you wanted to have a sound system. Also, a place for what was it? What did I tell you before? It was a subwoofer and empty space, basically. So it would be nice if Yamaha did something different, like Polaris, where they have the quick release hatch, and then they gave you an option as an accessory for the guys that don't want a stereo system to have like a container that could fit in there, a waterproof container, or an aftermarket company that could come up with something to put in there so you could actually use it as an extra storage facility.
Yeah, you were talking about, I think a heater goes in there.
Yeah, the heater goes in there.
Heater or
as
a
well.
subwoofer.
Heater and subwoofer both go in there. And from the guys that have installed it, they say it works out good, but it's very, very, very tight. And because there's not a lot of room. But again, if you're mudding or anything like that, and I'm not a guy that's gonna probably bury my machine up to here like some guys. So if you were going to go in the mud and go past this, there's a good chance that that stuff would get wet and probably not work in the future. So that's a disadvantage. Again, reiterate back what we were saying before. Guys my size, this I feel a lot more comfortable in. I drove the Polaris. It just felt a little bit more constricted front to back. The steering wheel felt a little bit closer to me. One of the things I have to check with Yamaha on is when we were doing some jumps, it wasn't major jumps, but definitely we got this thing off the ground. The whole steering column actually moved up and down. It does lock into place, but I don't know if that actually moves with the whole suspension, and that's what's locked in place versus having it just stay in a position when you're going over. So is it really a big deal for me? No. For guys that are probably looking at making this more of a sport, leaning towards that versus a utility machine, definitely something to keep in consideration.
Yep.
Again, the box is a little bit bigger than the Polaris, but it's basically you're comparing apples to apples for the most part across both these machines.
All right, we're gonna do a little side-by-side drag.